Welcome to Plastic Surgery Talk with Dr. Mulholland, brought to you by SpaMedica. Hello and welcome, Dr. Mulholland, back at Toronto, Canada on Plastic Surgery Talk for another installment of our podcast. And this one is on specialized considerations around tattoo removal. Big topic, tattoo removal. I think you'll find this interesting. In fact, if you find these interesting, entertaining, rewarding, informational, educational, please share, subscribe, and comment. So what is laser tattoo removal? It's the use of a specialized laser with special features and technological developments to remove a tattoo without cutting, without surgery. Specialized lasers that are designed to remove the tattoo in as many treatments as we can with the fewest number of complications. With the growth and explosion in the popularity of tattoos, there's also been a reciprocal development of high-tech lasers to give the best possible result we've ever been able to achieve in laser tattoo removal. So we talked about what is tattoo removal using a laser. It's a specialized laser to specifically target the little ink particles in the tattoo. And it works beautifully. How common is tattoo removal? It's quite shocking. There are 45 million people with tattoos in the United States. When you add the United States and Canada, there's about 50 million people with tattoos. That's a huge part of the population, up to 20 to 25% across the board. Now, if you take millennials, young people, young millennials, there's 69% of millennials that have a tattoo. And the first time in recorded history, women outnumber men. So tattoos have become very, very common. That's why you see such a dramatic rise in laser tattoo removal with products like the Picosure, because it's never been more common. Interesting statistic, there's up to 30% regret factor within 1 week of doing a tattoo. So 1/3 of 45 to 50 million people, or 15 million people out there in North America, are unhappy with their tattoo. That's why Picosure laser tattoo removal is a tremendous growth opportunity if you're a physician, and a tremendous way to remove your tattoo if you're a patient, and sometimes you're a patient and a physician as well. So we have a laser and we've got a tattoo. Now, who's a good candidate? What kind of patient, what kind of tattoo is a good candidate? Well, first of all, it needs to be a patient that has a reasonable expectation. That is, that we can never, well, often never get 100% reduction. We can get significant reduction. How much? 60 to 90% over 9 or more treatments. So a realistic patient who's willing to commit to the number of treatments at the interval specified to get a nice improvement, almost near total reduction after a series of treatments. So expectations need to be realistic. A patient who doesn't have any skin diseases or pathologies in the area are generally medically well, so uncontrolled diabetics are not good candidates. Patients who are not pregnant, who don't have a pacemaker, and whose pigment has been done with professional ink by a reputable tattoo artist. There are certain inks that oxidize on contact and lead to an odd color. So the right ink, the right tattoo, the right expectations, and the right commitment, because it is a process. It's a commitment to 6 to 9 treatments minimum to get your 90% reduction. Those are good tattoo removal candidates. I often get questions from patients who email in or call the clinic. Can I get tattoo removal if I have dark skin? And in the past, we used to say, if you have very dark skin in a tattoo, the tattoo is going to remove some of the pigment of your skin if you have dark melanin, and so you weren't a candidate. Now, with the newer generation of tattoo removal devices called the picosecond tattoo technologies, the Picosure, the Picoway, the Enlighten, these super short pulse duration tattoo removal devices allow us to treat darker skin types with dark tattoos. So any skin type is a candidate. Generally, the lighter the skin type, the more effective the removal, but dark skin types now, Asian, Hispanic, African American, Caribbean skin, Middle Eastern skin, are also candidates for tattoo removal. So we hear a lot about different lasers. The most popular laser of the last 5 years by far has been the Picosure, followed by the Picoway and the Enlighten. What is the unique thing about those devices? They are very, very uber short pulse duration. A picosecond is a billion times faster than the blink of an eye. A picosecond is super short pulse duration. The previous generation of lasers were in the nanosecond pulse duration. It was still very short, but nanosecond is still a factor of 1,000,000 times slower than a picosecond. So nanosecond pulse duration lasers were things like the Rev Light, devices like the Rev Light, the Med Light, the C4, the C6, generally devices made by ConBio, which is one of the biggest laser manufacturers in the world. And the ConBio is bought by Cynosure, that also makes the Picosure. So Cynosure has a huge array of options. Now the Rev Light, it was the state of the art 10 years ago, late 2008, 9, 10. The Rev Light is nanosecond pulse duration, so it's short pulse duration, but not super short, not like the Pico. But it gives you 4 wavelengths of light: a 1064, a 650, a 590, and the 532. And these 4 wavelengths, 532, 1064, 650, and 580, allow you to treat almost all colors. So the Rev Light was really the first 4 wavelength tattoo with a gated pulse duration, interpulse delay, that allowed us with a nanosecond pulse duration to treat most tattoos. The problem was with the Rev Light and its brothers and sisters like the Med Light, the C4, the C6, the trifecta, other devices of that generation, was it would take 16 or more treatments to get 50 to 75% reduction of your tattoo. We could treat multicolors, but it was multiple treatments, like 2 to 3 years of treatments to get about 50 to 75% reduction. And because it was also heat, it was heating the tattoo as well as shattering the tattoo, the heat would damage some of your natural melanin and you get some hypopigmentation or lightening called ghosting. So the Rev Light, older generation, nanosecond, not Pico, multiple wavelengths, yes, but twice as many treatments as the Pico for less permanent reduction, 90% versus 50%, and with a higher risk of hypopigmentation. So those are the difference between the Pico and the Rev Light. The Pico, 6 to 9 treatments, up to 90% reduction, the lowest risk of hypopigmentation, and the best permanent reduction. So your first big decision, what laser? A Picosure, a Picoway, or an Enlighten. Those are the 3 picosecond pulse durations. Of those 2, the Picosure, Picoway are the best, and by far the most common is the Picosure. But it's not just the device. You have to have the right wavelengths in the device. So you want a configuration in that doctor, that clinic's Picosure that has a 1064 if you have darker skin, a 755 Alexandrite Picosure wavelength for light skin, dark ink. So the 755 is great for lighter skin, Asian, Hispanic, Caucasian, who have black, green, purple, blue tattoo ink. What if you got red or orange? Well, then you need a Picosure with a 532 wavelength applicator. So you want to make sure you're using the 532 for your red, orange, and yellow tattoos. You're using a 755 for your green, dark green, light green, black, and blue and purple. And then for your dark skin with dark ink, that's when you need the 1064. So 3 wavelengths in 1 Picosure, that's what you're looking for. So what do you do if you're a patient with a tattoo and you have olive complected skin, darker complected skin, or black complected skin? You've got, let's say, a black tattoo on dark brown or very dark brown skin. Well, you're still going to seek out a picosecond pulse duration laser, the Picosure, the Picoway, or the Enlighten. Picosure by far the most commonly used. Now, it's not just about the pulse duration, you also need the right wavelength. So you're going to pick a 1064 nanometer wavelength, what's called a 1064. A picosecond pulse duration 1064 is your safest treatment for darker skin type with dark ink tattoo. Now let's say you live in a town or city with no Picosure, no Picoway, no Enlighten. Your next best option is the 1064 in a product called the Rev Light. And we talked about the Rev Light. It's an older generation product, still nanosecond, but it still does a good job on black skin or dark skin with dark ink because it's a 1064 wavelength. You may need up to 16 treatments to get 50 to 75% reduction, but still going to be a safe option for you. Is tattoo removal safe? Absolutely, but we've been doing laser tattoo removal for over 15 to 20 years, and it's very safe. There's no systemic risk to your body by breaking up these ink particles. You're not going to get the zinc or the oxides traveling through your system and causing, dementia or brain problems. There's a lot of hyperbole online about breaking up the tattoo and causing systemic problems. Never been proven. What has been proven over the last 20 years are there are some risks, but they're local risks to the skin. When you use older generation technology at the Rev Light, you're going to get some heat and some shockwave effect or photoacoustic effect. So there's a risk of a burn, of hypopigmentation, of local stalled ink, so you get only partial removal. Those are the biggest risks. Lightening of your skin, the risk of a burn and a scar, and only partial removal of the tattoo or stalled ink. Once you get into a picosecond, it's such a short pulse duration. When the laser hits the skin, the photon, the energy goes through the skin and hits the ink. It shatters it like a shock wave. There's very little heat. So a picosecond pulse duration device like the Picosure acts more like a photoacoustic or shock wave trauma to the ink rather than heat. Without much heat, there's less risk of a burn. There's less risk of hypopigmentation or lightening, and it's safer in darker skin types. So the risks of the laser are local risks, lightening and a scar. And those risks are far less with the picosecond pulse duration because it's more photoacoustic or shock wave than heat, which is why the Picosure is still your best bet because the complications and risks are much lower. No matter what laser you ultimately choose to do your tattoo removal, you're going to need multiple treatments, 6 to 9 minimum with a Picosure, 16 or more with a nanosecond pulse duration like a Rev Light, so multiple treatments. Now, what about each treatment? Tattoo removal can be quite uncomfortable. Like any laser hair removal or a photofacial or fractional laser wrinkle reduction, anytime you're creating heat or shock wave in the skin, there's going to be stimulation of sensory nerves. It's going to be painful. How do we minimize that pain? Well, at SpaMedica, I use a triple approach to pain reduction, which makes it painless tattoo removal if you approach it this way. First of all, we use some topical anesthetic cream on the tattoo. Something with a benzocaine, lidocaine, tetracaine. We put it on topically for about 15 minutes. That takes a lot of the sting away, but not out of all of it. Still about 50% of that pain is still persistent. And so what we do next is we give you a little laughing gas, some nitrous oxide. And as you're breathing in this nitrous oxide, it releases an immediate sense of well-being, of giddiness, of happiness. It releases dopamine and serotonin in your brain. And when you're feeling good like that, that's when we do the laser treatment. If it's a small tattoo, if it's a bit bigger, we'll actually take some very, very dilute lidocaine or freezing. And while you're feeling good from the nitrous oxide or laughing gas, we do very tiny little micro needle mesotherapy lidocaine in the tattoo. We leave that for 8 to 10 minutes and then it is painless. So if you want painless tattoo removal like we offer here at SpaMedica, it's going to be topical anesthetic cream, laughing gas, and micro needle delivered lidocaine. And then tattoo removal will not hurt at all. How long does a treatment take and how long is your recovery? Well, first of all, most tattoos are about the size of a business card. About the size of a business card. And so it takes maybe 2 minutes to remove that tattoo. So it's a fairly quick treatment. And when it's small like that, usually laughing gas and topical is all you need. Once you get into a bit bigger, like the size of the palm of your hand, we use topical anesthetic and the laughing gas. Usually that's enough, but if it smarts a bit, we'll use some tiny mesotherapy, microneedle delivered lidocaine, and we can do that treatment in about 4 or 5 minutes. If you've got a larger tattoo, like part of a sleeve or something bigger than the palm of your hand, that takes about 20-25 minutes to do, including the topical anesthesia, the laughing gas, and the lidocaine. And so it takes between 5 and 20 minutes, so half an hour. Once you've done the treatment, it creates a little crusting or frosting on the skin. And we put a little topical antibiotic on and a dressing. You want to keep it covered with a bandage for about a week. During that week, it's kind of crusty and yicky, like you fell off your bike when you were young and you got a scrape. Do not pick the scab. Just leave the topical antibiotic and the dressing on. Let it heal. After a week, the scab will come off and it's going to be healed underneath, and it's going to be a bit red and sensitive. So you're crusty for a week in a dressing, a bandage. Then you are no bandage in the second week, but it's a little sensitive. You want to avoid the sun, avoid rough activities that could rub or scrape your newly healed over tattoo. And it's sensitive for about a week. And then usually by about 3 or 4 weeks, you can go back out in the sun. You can be more rough and tumble after 2 to 3 weeks. We don't recommend you do another treatment for about 6 to 8 weeks. So it's 6 to 8 weeks between treatments. Remember what we said, it's 6 to 9 treatments to get your final result. So 1 week of crusting, 1 week of sensitivity. Generally, if you're in a work-sensitive environment where people are going to, be off-put by a crusted lesion, you wear a long-sleeve shirt over it. Make sure you cover up your chest, and hopefully you don't have a head and neck tattoo. For example, eyebrow liner, eyebrow tattooing. We can do that, but it's a bit crusty, and you got to take some time off work because people can see it. So how much time should you plan to have your tattoo removal? Well, let's say you have a wedding coming up and you've done a tattoo and you want to get rid of that tattoo. It might only take you 2 hours to get the tattoo on, but if you're going to do 6 to 9 treatments every 6 to 8 weeks, it's going to take you a good year to 1.5 years to remove that tattoo. Now, if you're going to come in once a month, once every 6 weeks, and it takes 6 treatments to get 90% reduction, it might take you as quick as 7 or 8 months. So plan on some months between starting and finishing. So if you have a big event where you don't want that tattoo to be seen, like a wedding, and you're going to have a plunging neckline or open sleeve shirt, and you've got an arm tattoo, give yourself minimum 6 months, better still 1 year to get your 90% reduction. How much does laser tattoo removal, example with the Picosure, cost? Generally, most clinics will charge by the treatment. You charge by the treatment. Now, if you buy a package of 3, you might save 10%. Buy a package of 6, you might save 20%. But in general, for small tattoos, the size of a business card or smaller, it's going to cost you anywhere from $99 to $250 per treatment, depending on the clinic. If you buy a 3-pack, you're going to save 10 to 15%. You buy a 6-pack, you're going to save upwards of 20%. What about the size of the palm of your hand? That's your medium-sized tattoo. In general, for medium-sized tattoos, you're looking at anywhere from $250 a treatment to $500 a treatment. Probably averages $400 to $500 per treatment for a medium tattoo. Smaller than the palm of your hand, but bigger than a business card. For larger tattoos, those that are bigger than the size of your hand, upwards even to half a sleeve, is going to be custom pricing depending on size. But in general, larger tattoos the size of your hand are going to be about $750 to $950 per treatment. Again, you buy a series of treatments, you save money for a 3-pack. You might buy a 6-pack and save up to 20%. So those are the rough prices that I see across North America. Individual prices may vary depending on the kind of laser a clinic has, the kind of experience they have, and the commitment to the outcome. For example, here at SpaMedica, I have 3 different picosecond pulse duration lasers. I have a Rev Light, I have an Accolade, I have a Trinity. I have 4 or 5 lasers that I can use to make sure you get the best possible result. And so we'll often charge a bit more because within 6 to 9 treatments, we're going to give you a better result than anybody. Now you can pay less and see a clinic that's got a Rev Light and do 16 treatments, and you pay less per treatment, but it costs you more over time because you're doing way, way more treatments. So generally, the total global cost to remove these tattoos, it might cost you a couple $100 to get your tattoo, and it might cost you $1,000 to several $1,000s to get the tattoo off. So the best way to treat it is just don't get a tattoo and avoid it in the first place. So you've made that big decision, you got your tattoo, and for whatever reason, you're disappointed. Welcome to the club. 30% of all tattoo removal patients don't like their tattoo within 1 week of doing it. And so be very aware of why you're doing it, of what is meaningful to you, of what you want to put on your body and your skin for the rest of your life that's going to say something about your life and what you believe or what you find attractive or what you want to project. So let's say you get the treatment done and you're going to come in and get a tattoo removal. How to pick the right physician in the right clinic? Well, first of all, start doing some work and consultation with Mr. Google. Simply Google laser tattoo removal, your location, your zip code, your city, your town, or even better, Picosure laser tattoo removal, your city, your town, or Picoway, or Enlighten. A specific search around the best laser you're going to get, and find out how many physicians or non-physician clinics have a Picosure in your city or your town or your area of the city or your zip code. And then start going to those websites, check out those doctors. How long have they been in business? How long they've been doing tattoo removal? Then check their before and after in photo gallery. Check any video they have on the treatment. Go on their YouTube channel, see if they're active. Go on their rating sites, go on Real Self and RateMD and City Search and Yelp and find out what their tattoo removal patients are saying about them. And then, of course, do a little consultation screening, check out 2 or 3 places, find out the pricing. Sometimes cheapest isn't always the best. You might, again, be getting a less expensive tattoo removal treatment price per treatment, but you're going to do it with a non-Picosure system and end up doing 12, 13, 14, 15 treatments. So the small difference in price is what grossly outbalanced by doing way more treatments. So pick the right technology, Picosure, Picoway, or Rev Light. Pick the right clinic with a lot of experience with different skin types. Make sure that their Picosure has at least 3 wavelengths, a 1064, a 532, and of course the 755. If you've got white skin or light skin, 755 or 532 for your yellow, orange, red color are going to be your best option. With darker skin, as we mentioned, a darker skin is going to look for 1064. So again, thank you for joining me, Dr. Stephen Mulholland, here in Toronto, Canada, on Plastic Surgery Talk for our latest installment of our podcast, this time on more specialized questions around laser tattoo removal. We talked specifically about the right wavelength, the picosecond pulse duration generations, and some of the factors you need to consider. If you found this podcast and the other podcasts we've done interesting, entertaining, and informative, please subscribe, share, and comment. See you next time.